Hi, everyone, and welcome in to GC Live here on Gamecock Central. Kendall Smith and Jack Veltri joining you here. We hope that you're having a wonderful Wednesday so far. It just downpoured here in Charlotte. Like, I haven't seen it rain that way in quite some time, which we actually needed it because we had a burn ban going on in North Carolina for a few weeks, and it was because of no rain and it was just really dry. So it's nice to have it rain. But yeah, Jack, it was really ugly. And now I'm really tired because once it rains like that, I'm like, I could
You guys have a game tonight?
We don't. The team's on the road. They are in Jacksonville. I'm not traveling with them, but I did just book my flight to Buffalo.
Whoa, that's crazy.
We're all flying to Buffalo for a big road trip coming up in the next month. So that's going to be really exciting. Maybe I can go live from Niagara Falls and check in with you. But anyways, how are you, Jack?
I'm doing good. Doing good. It's good to be back on here with you, Kendall. And we've got one of the first comments, of course, wedding update.
Well, I need to ask the question. We have a full segment for this. So Jack's wedding update. This is the weekly wedding update segment, everyone, with Jack Veltri. Jack, the floor is yours now.
When's the last time we spoke about this?
When's your date locked in?
Yeah, we have the date locked in. Besides that, not really a ton because we're planning out the engagement party right now. That's going on, and then because that'll be next month. And then besides that, like the next step is just going to find a place for the reception. We're going to tour spots in a few weeks here when I'm back home after the season ends with baseball, but. Besides that, not too much of an update right now. Are we going to have a band? I don't know. Again, these are questions I will have a better answer to in the future. Maybe a DJ. I have no idea, but we'll see. We'll see.
What songs do you have to have play at your wedding? What are the non-negotiable songs?
Oh God. I don't like in particular. I don't know about in particular. I do know, like we're starting to think about like what's like the first, what's it called, the first dance or whatever. Like we're trying to think about that, but like as far as like anything in particular, probably like we like a ton of different music, so like we're really like it's just gonna be a lot of different things going on. But yeah, the planning out.
In the early 2000s, Usher. Yeah. And right now, I am like totally in my Michael Jackson era.
Oh yeah, did you see the movie?
So I'm seeing it Sunday with my mom for Mother's Day. She wanted us to all wait and see it as a family, so I waited. But of course, like being on TikTok, being on Instagram Reels, you're seeing it all the time. So I've seen some of the scenes, like the bad scene, the beat it scene. So I've seen all of those. I actually learned the beat it dance the other day, so I like got the beat it dance down. But I am totally in my Michael Jackson era. I've always loved his music, but now because it's kind of resurged since this movie has come out, I am very into it. And I have to say, just from the small clips I've seen, I can't wait to see the movie. Jafar Jackson looks like he crushed that. Like Oscar incoming. It looks unreal. I can't wait.
I saw it. I've seen it twice now. It is really good. I think you're really going to like it. I think your mom's going to like it. It's a great movie. If you have not gone to see it yet, it is really good. Like you're right. Jafar kills it in this movie. He's really good. Coleman Domingo's really good. I mean, it's a great movie. Here's the thing though. It does not cover every single bit of his life. That's probably why there's going to be a part 2, but it's really good. So.
Well, there's only so much you can do. I don't know how long the movie is, but in a couple hour time frame. But yeah, this is so valid. Sandstorm will obviously have to play.
Yeah.
And that's really good. So I love that. Backstreet Boys, that's a good option. We'll just
Cupid Shuffle. Oh my God. That is definitely a must at a reception. So
the wobble, the wop.
Oh, it's gonna be like that's why I'm saying it's hard to know because it's going to be so many different ones. Will Cocky be at the wedding? I don't know. I don't know about Cocky, but like
y'all are stressing him out.
I don't know about Cocky, honestly. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. Well, oh my God. Well, I take. Geez, you know what? We're not. No, that's it. That's it for the wedding update. Let's get into everything else. These are too many questions. I will answer a few each week, but man, y'all are.
I think Jack will take wedding or dance lessons.
I will do everything I need to do to make sure everything goes according.
Make sure that Caroline's happy.
Exactly. So if we need to take dance, we probably will need to take dance lessons. So.
Well, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Yeah, Jack is just Mr. Popularity right now. Everyone wants to ask Jack a question about his wedding. He can't answer all the questions, everybody.
Yeah, please.
Cut the cameras. He's just too famous for this. If you guys have any questions for me, let me know. I'm happy to answer them. No, I'm kidding.
How are the Checkers doing? Is the season done?
I can't. They're out of the playoffs. Very upsetting. I can't speak about it at this time. It's extremely sad. But I don't have any weddings to plan anytime soon. So one day when it is my time for a wedding, I'll answer all your questions. I won't be like Jack over here who's too famous. No, I'm kidding. We'll continue to answer them as they come, everyone. And we do really appreciate your genuine interest in Jack's wedding. Yes. It is very exciting, and we'll be happier for him and Caroline. So cannot wait to hear more and more about it. But this show is presented by our good friend Clint Hammond, and we are back talking South Carolina football today, Jack.
Yeah, we are. It's going to be good here to talk about some Gamecock football. But yes, you're right. Clint Hammond, presenting sponsor of GC Live. If you are in the market to buy a home or need help with your mortgage, give our friend Clint Hammond a call. He's been in the mortgage industry for over 20 years now. He's been the presenting sponsor of GC Live for as long as you and I have been here, Kendall, and probably honestly before that. And he is a lifelong Gamecock fan. So he gets the struggles, the ups, the downs, everything in between. I'm sure he'll be willing to talk some ball with y'all. But give him a call, 803-422-6797. The NMLS number for him is 71597. Or go to ClintHammond.com for more info. Thank you, Clint.
Thank you, Clint. All right, as mentioned, we are talking South Carolina's football schedule and our predictions for it for this 2026 season. Disclaimer, everyone, okay? We understand we have not seen the full scope of this team. We are not 100% certain how things are going to go. This is why they call it talking season. This is why it's fun to talk about these things, because you're looking forward to the season with hope and with aspirations for a team that made a lot of adjustments in the offseason. So we are just doing this because it's fun and because we want to, and because we know a lot of you will want to chime in as well and let us know what you think about certain scenarios. We don't know what every single team is going to look like that South Carolina will play. We don't know exactly what South Carolina is going to look like come their first game of the season, or even come their 8th game of the season, when who knows what injuries may have piled up. I'm not speaking that into existence, but that's just the nature of football. Things are going to change. So this is all just for fun. It's not that serious. And with that being said, Jack, earlier today, actually we'll start with this, an article came out from On3. It was very interesting. And it was basically a 2026 post-spring college football bowl projections article. Brett McMurphy came out with it, and he has South Carolina at this point in time slated to be in the Liberty Bowl in Memphis, Tennessee against Cincinnati. Now, of course, this is all just a guess, right? We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but this is just the post-spring prediction. And it is interesting to look at. Jack, you and I were talking about this before we even clicked live on the show. If South Carolina goes to the Liberty Bowl, not trying to be rude, no disrespect to the Liberty Bowl, but that is just not, in my opinion, good enough. What do you think?
Yeah, and honestly, besides that, just going to Memphis does not sound like a fun holiday trip. I mean, shoot, that's probably around after Christmas at some point. So that's not, I don't know. That does not sound fun. But anyway, yeah, the Liberty Bowl, I mean, that's probably, and again, we'll get into our predictions and maybe some of it lines up, but like that's probably, I'm going to look up last year's Liberty Bowl just to see what teams were playing in it and record-wise. But I think it's about a 7 to 8 win team that would be getting in. So last year it was, Cincinnati was actually in the game last year, ironically enough. Let's see what their record was. I don't believe they were that crazy good. But point is, like, yeah, I mean, it's an average team. So, yeah, 7-6 last year.
I feel like 8 wins is a lot. Like, I feel like an 8-win team in the Liberty Bowl, I'm sure it's happened, but, like, I kind of see that as like a 6-7 win bowl.
And
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And Navy, who was in the bowl game too, went 11-2. So, and I think it's a little different for the smaller group of 5 schools, but but I think 7 to 8 wins probably gets you to that bowl. I don't know about 8. 8 probably gets you to a better bowl game, but 7 wins, maybe 6 gets you to the Liberty Bowl, which I think would not be ideal. I think depends how the games come. I think are we talking about this from the sense of like what's good enough to keep Beamer's job potentially?
I think South Carolina has to win 8 games this upcoming season. Like that to me is kind of the minimum, like to be honest with you. I think if South Carolina, we've talked about this, wins 7 games, I think, this is just my opinion, that Shane Beamer's job will be safe if he wins 7 games. That is I think
that's with this schedule. Yeah.
With this schedule, with the expectations, I think a 7-win season in a bowl game, Shane Beamer's good to go. And we love Shane here. But 8 wins for me is like what I'm looking at for South Carolina. If they get that, I will be satisfied. Obviously, you want more, but when you look at the schedule and just what they have ahead, that's kind of the minimum, in my opinion. So I think if South Carolina goes to the Liberty Bowl with 7 wins, Shane Beamer's good. But I don't think that that's necessarily ideal. Of course, like none of these bowls in a lot of people's eyes are going to be ideal unless you're in the college football playoff, right? But I think for South Carolina, just having some realistic expectations as well, for me, like an 8-9 win season would be awesome.
Yeah, get close to getting back to like the Citrus Bowl or something. That's how you know you've had a good season when you get there. New Year's 6 means, that just means you're going to the college football playoff. So, I don't know. I think as we'll kind of get into with our predictions here, again, these are way too early. I don't think they're meant to be taken too seriously just because we really don't know what things are going to look like when it all does shake out. It's just our thoughts. But, I think the Liberty Bowl, depending on how they get the wins, wouldn't be the worst thing, I guess. But you do. I think you're right, Kendall. I think you want to get to about 8 wins because that means you've had a pretty good year, all things considered. Though I did see, I think the other day in passing, I did see that South Carolina's got the 14th hardest schedule in the SEC. So that means the schedule's a little lighter than years past. I can kind of see it, honestly. Take out the Georgia game. I think the rest of the games on the schedule are very much winnable, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. I'm looking at some of these other bowl games outside of the obvious New Year's bowls. You're talking about college football playoff level. What bowl games would you like to go to, Jack?
Oh, man. I wouldn't mind going down the road to Charlotte. I see Alabama and Clemson are pinned up against each other in that bowl game, so that's fascinating.
Great.
What's up?
I said great.
Oh, yeah, great.
All the Clemson fans.
The Citrus Bowl's a good time. I enjoy that one. It's been a while since South Carolina's been to the ReliaQuest Bowl. I feel like if they're going to have a good year, like 8 wins, I think that would be a nice little bowl game for them to get to. Music City would be fun. I think realistically, probably it would be good for them to get somewhere in Florida, I think, because I think that signals like ReliaQuest
and like Music City are those two, and like the Music City are on kind of the same wavelength, in my opinion.
Even the Gator Bowl, I think, is a respectable bowl game. Like now, from the standpoint of wins and losses, it means you had a good year. As far as the stories that you and I'm sure Colin and everyone has from the Gator Bowl, it's probably a different story, but that's another decent bowl game. So yeah, I think you're right. Any Florida game that we just talked about, or going to the Music City Bowl, I feel like would be acceptable if you're going to make a bowl game.
I had a really, really bad experience at the Gator Bowl, and that was not just because of the score. Obviously, it was not great that South Carolina lost to Notre Dame when we went, but just I won't get into the details. Maybe I will another day, but not a positive experience at all at the Gator Bowl. So I would rather it be in Tampa. Orlando was fun a couple years ago, minus the loss. Music City Bowl is another good one. I think if South Carolina is kind of sitting, again, and it just depends on how other teams do, because we've seen seasons where you have absolutely dominant teams in college football, and then seasons where, teams kind of ebb and flow a little bit. So it just obviously isn't only about South Carolina, but how the entire landscape is doing. But if South Carolina gets to 8-9 wins and they make the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa, or they make the Music City Bowl in Nashville, I think that's fun. They're probably going to try to keep it more regional, but they know that South Carolina fans will travel. So it would be fun if South Carolina maybe did travel like a little bit further outside of this southeastern region. I would be down for that too, Jack.
I think that would be good. I think any bowl game, and honestly, imagine this. Imagine going to Pasadena for the road. That would be sick. I mean, now you'd have to make the playoff to get there, unfortunately, but it's not like, hey, look, who knows? I think as we get into this, you want to get into the predictions here, we can kind of talk about like the ceiling, the floor, and all that stuff.
All right. So Kent State, that should be a win.
Yeah, it should be a win. Like the first 2 weeks should be wins against Kent
we're just going to skip. No disrespect. And I swear no one better clip this if something happens. Like, just all of you are thinking the same thing. So don't even try. Okay. So Kent State and Towson, automatic wins, like, should be no problem for South Carolina. Should start the season 2-0. You're heading into week 3, and that is on September 19th against Mississippi State.
I'm gonna
take should be a win for South Carolina too.
I'm gonna take the Gamecocks to win that game because the improvements they've made across the board, it just feels like they should be so much farther along than Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State is a team that, look, last year they gave a lot of teams trouble. They just couldn't close it out in the end. Kind of similar to South Carolina, except I think Mississippi State's probably another year away from being where they want to be. Maybe they'll get to a bowl game again this year and get to 6 wins actually this time. But I don't know. I think ultimately, I think South Carolina is just in a better spot at this point, and it's at home. Maybe at this game we're in Starkville, I'd say different story, but it's at home. South Carolina should win this game at 3-0.
At home, and you're coming off of a week 1 and a week 2 where you should be building confidence. You should be rolling at this point. Your offense should be feeling really great about itself because you've had the opportunity to just really go out there, get your feet under you, do what you need to do. So when you're heading into this game, in my opinion, there's no excuse for South Carolina not to come in and to succeed, especially with the adjustments they've made. Now, we're saying this, again, not fully knowing what week 3 looks like. But also, if you're getting a guy like Peak back in week 3, because that might be kind of around the time. I don't necessarily think that they're going to rush it, so to speak, and have him play in week 1 or week 2 if it's not necessary and you're playing, Towson and you're playing Kent State. But that might kind of be his timeline as well, Jack.
Yeah, agreed. Here's the thing with those guys. Like, I would even include Dylan Stewart in this. If we'll see, Shane Beamer's talking tonight for the final time at the Garnet and Black road trip. So we'll see maybe if he has any update on either of those guys. But I think, I don't think you could just play Peak to get him reps, but I don't think that's necessarily like, if he's not 100% healthy, there's no point in him playing the first 2 games of the year. By week 3, when SEC play gets going, you would like him back. But hopefully it will kind of be a non-talking point. Hopefully he'll be back by when fall camp gets going, and then he's kind of just going through that slow progression like everyone is through fall camp until the season gets going. And the same with Stewart. We'll see where those 2 guys are at now. South Carolina, about around Memorial Day this month, they'll be getting going with summer workouts and whatnot. So it'll be summer here before you know it.
Well, yeah, this is, interesting. I think, and again, this is not like to disrespect Mississippi State. I'm not saying that it won't be a semi-close game, but I do think South Carolina should, knowing what we know, win this game. It would be a different scenario if you're coming in the next week on the road in Tuscaloosa to play Alabama. Then I kind of consider that like throwing him into the fire a little bit. But I think that you can, at home, bring them in against Mississippi State. They will have been practicing prior, getting best on best type of reps, have them play those games given that they're ready. And then you get them ready for the next week on the road at Alabama. So, Jack, we both agree. We think South Carolina should win this game against Mississippi State. Alabama, that's, in my opinion, the first, true I'm a little bit scared moment when I see the schedule.
I agree. Now, Alabama's got to replace a ton of pieces. We're talking about it. Wide receiver. They got to replace their leading receiver, which surprisingly is not Ryan Williams. It was Jeremy Bernard who got drafted. Ty Simpson at quarterback they got to replace. So, and Alabama's going to still be very talented this year. I don't agree with the Mayo Bowl projection that McMurphy gives them. Like, we'll see. Maybe they won't be that great. Maybe they will be a 7-win team this year. But I think Alabama is still very much – I mean, they're coming off a playoff appearance. I think maybe it'll be a little bit of tough sledding, but I don't think this early in the year we're going to see Alabama slip. Now, the last time South Carolina went to Tuscaloosa, nearly pulled off a magical upset. And that was 2 years ago. I know the teams are different, but I don't know. I think it's possible, depending on what time this game is, maybe two we could play into. Maybe it's an early kick. But I think this is going to be South Carolina's first loss of the year. I just think Carolina's improved for sure. And I don't think they really would have gotten tested in those first 3 games of the year to really be ready for what's to come. I think Tuscaloosa is going to be a tough environment.
Yeah, the environment is obviously very difficult. What gives me hope, though, for South Carolina is you have a group of guys, especially in your leader, your main guy, your number one, Lenora Sellers, that will have been used to these hostile environments in the SEC. So I do think that Alabama will probably be favored in this game. But I think if South Carolina kind of comes in, again, rolling on some confidence, we'll see how Alabama does picking up the missing pieces. It just seems like over the last several years since Nick Saban's departure, Alabama is always good for a few times a season, either a scare, an upset, or a team coming in and just kind of taking over. And I could see that being South Carolina this season. So I would love to see South Carolina win it. I think they can. I think that they'll have kind of the maturity piece of it as well with some of those older veteran type guys that are used to that. And Alabama, again, with all the missing pieces they have, I don't know. They always adjust because they're Alabama. So they have the pedigree. Like, you are the University of Alabama. So people want to go and play football there regardless. And there's a reason why. It's a great program. But I think for South Carolina, they might have a little bit more established on their end and the confidence going in and some veteran pieces that I think they could pull it off.
Totally. It is certainly possible. If I'm talking about like games that I think could come down to the wire, be like a flip-flop sort of deal here, I think Alabama is certainly one of those games to watch, especially since it's early on in the year. I think Alabama, again, has a lot of question marks to answer. Like, who's their quarterback going to be? It's either probably going to be Keelan Russell or Austin Mack, I believe, is the two guys that are competing for that job. But how good is Ryan Williams going to be this year? What's their running back room going to look like? What's their defense? Like, they lost some definite pieces. I know they got DeBoer back for, I think, the future here with that contract he just signed a few weeks ago. But, yeah, Alabama, it may not be what they used to be in a lot of ways, but they're still a good program. So
no doubt.
Yeah.
I think they would consider it a slip because Alabama just views themselves as higher than South Carolina in the college football world, and they expect greatness. Like, you're talking about going to the Duke's Mayo Bowl. If Alabama goes to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, that fan base is going to lose their freaking mind. Like, it is going to be bad, but like, get your popcorn, everybody, because it will be interesting to watch as like non-Alabama fans. They will lose their mind. They would also lose their mind if South Carolina came in, beat Alabama week 4 of the season. In their mind, it would be. I'm not saying on paper, again, once we get to that point in the season, see who's playing. It'll be interesting, but South Carolina is coming in to Tuscaloosa in week 4. That's their true first, like, legitimate test in my eyes of the season.
Great.
So it's going to be an interesting one, but I'll take South Carolina right now.
Okay.
So these are way too early predictions. When we do our early predictions.
So you're 4-0 through the first month. I'm
Yes.
sitting at 3-1. Okay. Let's just keep that in the back of our minds as we compile this up. All right. Kentucky to kick off October. I think South Carolina probably wins this game. Kentucky obviously moved on from Stoops. They've got their new coach coming in, Will Stein from Oregon. I think Kentucky's going to be better this year, but I don't know enough about what Kentucky's going to be. I don't think they're going to be particularly great, especially coming off the year they just had. It's at home. I think South Carolina's going to win this game. If South Carolina is for real, this year in trying to not just make a bowl game, but have the season that they think they can have. This is one of the games you have to win. So give me South Carolina to beat Kentucky.
Totally agree. You cannot be losing to Kentucky at home in week 5 of the season. That's just not acceptable. And I know I said that last year about Vanderbilt, and then South Carolina did, in fact, not win that game. But you can't. Like, if you, again, you said it perfectly, Jack. If you're the team that you're saying you're going to be, and you've made all these improvements and you have all these guys returning and all these new faces and transfer portal guys, you can't lose to Kentucky at home. South Carolina, like, as I continue to look down the schedule, I mean, they have some home games that are very, very tough. Don't get me wrong. But like, as they get through these first few weeks of the season, they should be rolling at home, in my opinion. So
Absolutely.
I'll have 5-0.
Okay. 5-0, 4-1. They go to Florida, which I think is really going to be a tough test.
Mm-hmm.
October 10th in the Swamp. Another first-year coach, John Sumrall. What do you think with this game here?
They just can't seem to shake Florida. Like, I just have those horrible memories of my senior year in 2022, South Carolina going to Florida and losing. So every time I think about South Carolina playing in Gainesville, it stresses me out. I will put this as South Carolina's first loss of the season, just because, again, I think once you get to that point, we've kind of seen this with South Carolina as well. I'm not expecting South Carolina to go undefeated. Once you're in that point in SEC play, like, it is so difficult to just keep that same level of consistency going for that long when you're playing that many different teams, especially on the road. I know I said, you'll have the veteran guys in Alabama to be able to kind of step up and win the game. Yeah, it's early on in the season. I think South Carolina, again, will be rolling from those first few wins. But once you get to that point in October where you've been playing for quite some time, you've been trying to keep this level of consistency, I don't think it will be as easy to do that in Gainesville. So I'm not picking South Carolina for that reason. Also, I just still have the terrible memories of years back.
I would agree. I think Florida is going to be tricky in the Swamp. I'm going to take the Gamecocks to lose that game. So through 6 games heading into, I believe, now we're heading into the bye week. You have the Gamecocks at 5-1. I have them at 4-2. And the bye week is October 17th.
Yes, and then Tennessee at home on October 24th.
Yeah, it's very ironic because the schedule kind of plays like it did 4 years ago, where, like you mentioned, senior year, they go to the Swamp, they get their butts kicked, and the following week they come home and play Tennessee, and then they win that game. You are coming off a bye week. Let me see if Tennessee is going to be coming off a bye week. Their schedule's a little bit light. They'll get Alabama right before, I believe. So they'll get Alabama and then South Carolina. So no bye week for Tennessee leading into that game. I think South Carolina's got the advantage there. It's at home. I think at some point, that I don't know if I'd call this an upset necessarily, because I don't think Tennessee's as good as they have been before. But they typically get one of those wins every year where it's like, they pull off a little bit of a stunner. I think South Carolina wins this game and beats Tennessee to move them to 5-2.
I like your positivity. I will stay on that with you. I'm not going to predict South Carolina to lose 2 in a row coming back home. And like you said, I think it's just going to be like that little dose of reality maybe that they need in Florida just to kind of shore things up. And again, have the bye week and then come back home and beat Tennessee to finish off Cocktober, our favorite thing.
Yeah, well, they do have one more game. That is on Halloween.
You're right.
At Oklahoma. So that will be the one.
Ahead.
Yeah.
Finish off Cocktober at home, I should say.
Yeah, good save there. At Oklahoma, Halloween, I think Oklahoma's got Mateer coming back. I'm sure they got some other good pieces coming back on offense. That defense has always been good under Venables. I just think Oklahoma with a decent enough offense can beat a lot of teams. We saw that last year with them getting to the playoff and having a home game. Obviously, they lost to Bama, but I think that might sting a little bit for them, and they'll try to get back there this year and do something different. I think South Carolina's probably losing this game, so I'm going to move South Carolina to, I think at this point they would be 5-3 for me through 8 games.
I will also pick Oklahoma in this one for the same reasons, Jack. And, again, I think I've been positive in looking at the schedule so far. It's going to be interesting because there's obviously going to be like give and take. So you're going to probably have a situation where South Carolina wins a game or pulls out a game that they probably shouldn't have. And then they're probably going to do the same thing, but be on the other end of things, on the losing side. So I think for South Carolina, and I don't want to get too far ahead, like going all the way down the schedule. But again, I'm talking like an 8-win season would be great in my eyes for South Carolina looking at the schedule. I think that's like kind of realistic. So with that being said, I have them losing to Florida and losing to Oklahoma for their second loss of the year.
All right. And then November begins with a team that, I mean, shoot, South Carolina should not have lost this game last year. If any game they lost that they shouldn't have lost, it had to be A&M. Now, I'm not saying it from the standpoint of like the refs screwed them over or anything. South Carolina just lost a game that they should not have lost. When you're up 30-3 on Texas A&M at Kyle Field going into halftime, you should not blow that lead, but that's what South Carolina did. I think revenge is definitely going to be a big storyline for Carolina going into this game. But A&M is a really good team. They finally got themselves into the playoff. Marcel Reed's back for another year. They got Elko, got some dudes on defense. I think A&M's had some trouble at Willie B in the past. This is another toss-up for me. I'm going to take A&M to win this game, which would move Carolina to 5-4.
I think that South Carolina, like you said, the revenge, like that's going to be a game I think they have circled. I know they won't say they do, and they're like, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like, we're just taking it week by week and blah, 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 and all that stuff that everyone always says. But I think that the revenge factor is a big play in this one. It's at home. I don't know. Like, I'm just going to go with South Carolina on this one from my way too early because I think that they'll come in hot and they will want it bad. And once again, losing to Oklahoma the week before, that even brings more pressure. Like if they lose to Oklahoma the week before, that brings only more pressure to this game, more of the drive to succeed. So yeah, I got them over Texas A&M at home. I think they're going to want that bad. I can't even think about that game last season. That enrages me.
That game was bad.
That was probably the most furious I've been watching South Carolina.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just like you knew it was falling apart. I think it was like after the second touchdown they scored. I'm like, all right.
You could feel it unraveling. Yeah. The wheels came off the bus.
Yes, they did. The following week, they'll go to Arkansas. I don't believe I'm going to this game because I still need to, figure it out. But I think Caroline and I have a wedding to go to that's not our own, obviously. So I think I'm going to have to miss this game. But they are in Fayetteville and taking on an Arkansas team, also with a new coach, Ryan Silverfield. I think the Gamecocks win this game. I don't think Arkansas is very good. We'll see what they look like this year. Obviously, they won't have Taylon Green at quarterback, so there'll be someone new under center. Gamecocks getting to bowl eligibility, winning this game in Fayetteville. I think South Carolina, yes, they've gone through some tough losses by this point, in my opinion, but I think this is a game that they win here and get on the right track again.
I agree. I think that this is a good opportunity for South Carolina. No offense to Arkansas, but they just haven't really been the scariest of SEC programs over the years. So give me South Carolina in this one. As we head into the next week, which I'll just go ahead and start this off. I don't think South Carolina is going to beat Georgia this year. It's too bad to say. It would be great to see the upset happen on Senior Day, especially last game of the season in Columbia. But again, it's just one of those situations where Georgia is just so good. And they always seem to kind of have South Carolina's number. I remember my freshman year, obviously a big game in Athens, South Carolina won. They upset Georgia. That was great. But since it's just been all Georgia for the most part, and I expect nothing less from them this year, but to be, top tier program in the country.
Yeah, I got them losing this game too. Georgia's obviously going to be the best team they play on the schedule all year. So that would move them in mind to 6-5 heading into Clemson.
That has me with them at what?
You got them at what?
3 losses.
Yeah.
8-3.
Yeah. Okay. 8-3, and then 6-5 over here. I got South Carolina beating Clemson. I just don't see Clemson being very good. The recent draft kind of put it all into perspective for me of like they lost. They got 9 guys get drafted, and they went they won what 6 games with that roster, or no 7. They won 7 games with that roster, but still, they're losing all that. They're losing Klubnik. They're losing Parker. They're losing a lot of good pieces off that team. And I feel like they got a lot of things to figure out. I don't think Clemson's going to be that good this year. Maybe they get to 6 wins, but I think South Carolina can go in there and beat them. Sellers has got enough experience doing it, obviously. I think Carolina, while the record may not indicate, I think they're going to be a very battle-tested team, a team that will be in a lot of close games and actually win some of them this year. And I think this is one they end the season on a high note to go 7-5.
Yeah, and especially if your predictions hold true, you know, South Carolina is going to be yearning for that 7th win, or if they've won 7 games, trying to go for that 8th win, like those separating type of wins that can really make a difference in the type of bowl game that you end up in. Again, even if we're talking about like Shane Beamer, like if you've won 6 games versus finishing the year winning 7 games and beating Clemson, that is a lot better of a taste in the mouth of everyone that's making those decisions versus finishing the year with 6 wins and a loss against Clemson. So I think this is super important for South Carolina, as it always is. I have them winning and this is my very generous predictions, right? So I only have them losing 3 games, but I do think like this is, you know, true. Anyone could sneak up and beat anyone. Anything can happen, especially in SEC play. You just really never know. And we're making these predictions so early and just having fun with it. But again, we don't know exactly what these rosters are going to look like or the type of drama that these teams are going to have to withstand heading into every game of the season. It's just going to completely switch up. But, you know, Lenora Sellers, I think, will come into that one. He'll know the importance of it, as will many other guys on the team. And I think we've kind of started to see like the downfall of Clemson football, for lack of a better term. Like we're starting to see Clemson get a little bit of a reality check of what life is like not being top dog. And obviously they've had to experience that. But I think before it gets a lot better for them, it might have to get a lot harder for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have them going 9-3. I have them going 7-5. All right. So let's go back to this The 6-5 record is absurd. That's why it's a literal prediction. Like it's probably going to be wrong. What do you feel like the ceiling and the floor are for this team? Because I feel like that's also important to clarify. Like for context, I think they are about a 7 to 8 win team, but I think the ceiling for them, if things really go according to plan, I think they can win 10 games.
I agree.
But I think at bare minimum, they should be making a bowl game.
I think the floor for this team, like their bare minimum, as I've said, is 7 games. They should win 7 games this season. I think their ceiling is 10. Realistically, would like to see them around 8 wins.
Yeah.
That's how I would like to see the season shake out. If they end up at 6 wins, like you make a bowl game, but you make like a mid to low tier bowl game, it's just kind of like, because again, I know it's not all about talking season, but when you have this hype going into the year and you have a new offensive coordinator and you have Lenora Sellers coming back and you get these guys in the transfer portal and you have a pretty highly rated portal class, like you're thinking, okay, South Carolina has made these adjustments and they're going to be able to perform when push comes to shove when they're on the field. 6 wins is like barely scraping by, in my opinion. It's like, yeah, you made it, but barely. Like, you know, so I think their floor, like the bare minimum, should be 7, just based on the talent, based on the changes that have been made. And I agree with you. I think if like everything goes great, things are clicking on all cylinders in all 3 phases, 10 wins would be electric. If they got 9, awesome. 8, I'm happy.
So maybe they will go to the Liberty Bowl based on my predictions. Where ideally with 9 wins do you think that gets them? Like that probably does.
So hard to say because you don't know how other teams are going to do.
That's the other thing. But ideally, like if you're picking off like what is commonly like a 9-win bowl game, that's like any of the Florida Bowls typically shoot on it. I think that's probably it's got to be probably where they would be heading, I would think. Right?
Yeah. I don't think they'll go back to the Citrus Bowl because they were just there. So again, I could see it being the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa. When Ole Miss went there a couple of years ago when South Carolina was in the Citrus Bowl, were they a 9-win team or a 10?
And I think they went to, I think you're right, but I think they went to the Gator Bowl because they won 10.
Yeah. Did Alabama then go to the ReliaQuest Bowl?
Yeah. Because when we were in Orlando, they were in Tampa. They lost to Michigan.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, Ole Miss was in. Yeah, and again, that seems to be about the range. Like 8-9 wins probably gets you out to Florida. And I think in South Carolina's case, like you said before, they travel very well. So I think that's going to be appeasing and attractive for teams, or for the bowl sponsors or whatever.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I think with, that kind of average range, like I'll play South Carolina in Tampa for that. But again, like it's so hard to tell because you could have a season where kind of every team has had their stumbles and their falls. And then you're looking at it and you're like, all right, you don't have a team that's 12-0. You have a couple teams that are 11-1. And then you have like an array of teams that have won 9-10 games. And then you got to play our favorite game, which is deciding what the college football playoff committee is going to, think and what is going on. And that, from that standpoint. So it's interesting because it's obviously you can only control what you can control if you're South Carolina winning as many games as possible. But then you just don't know with the rest of the landscape how that will shake things out and where teams could be based on, stumbles or falls they may have had throughout the season.
Another good question here. What's the most likely upset you think that Carolina, like if there's a game you're locking in that South Carolina can get the upset in? What do you feel like that could be?
I'll lock it in on Alabama. Like, I think that would be considered an upset at that point in the season. Like, I don't think that a lot of people will be taking South Carolina in that one. Like, if we're looking at college game day, I bet most of the crew isn't picking the Gamecocks. Like, on the road in Tuscaloosa, first road game of the season for South Carolina. No one's going to say they've been battle tested. They're going to say you're going into a really hostile environment, this, that, and the other. So I could lock that in for South Carolina. I think that they're just going to be mature and, as I mentioned, ready to go, rolling with confidence. And it's an Alabama team with a lot of question marks.
I agree. I think that's probably, even though I picked South Carolina to lose that game, I do feel like if there is a game that they can get it done in, especially since they're going to be coming in with, we both expect South Carolina to be 3-0 through that first 3 weeks of the year. They should be. No excuse not to be. They'll have a lot of good things going, a lot of positive momentum. And, we'll see where Alabama is. They're going to get Florida State early in the year. They'll try to avenge that loss from last year. Who knows how the quarterback situation is going to play out there. Just all the pieces they're replacing while South Carolina retains a lot and has I think they are a much improved team overall. But, this is one of those games if you really do want to have a special type of year, you got to pull off a few upsets along the way probably to get there. Not saying it's going to be like Georgia or anything, but I think Bama's definitely a team that you can go in there and potentially beat. Maybe even I picked Tennessee. Tennessee would probably be the upset if I'm picking from the schedule I had, probably Tennessee. But I don't even know if Tennessee is necessarily an upset because it is at home.
You have to win the close games. You have to pull off maybe an upset or two. You can't get upset if you're South Carolina. There's a lot of things. And with this schedule and with college football, there's most likely going to be a disappointing game or two for South Carolina that they're either going to lose in a close one or they're going to lose to a team that everyone thought they shouldn't have lost to. It's just kind of the nature of college football. But for South Carolina to really lock it in this season, my question to you, Jack, and this is just knowing that we are mostly focused on South Carolina, but just knowing what you know about college football right now, do you think it's realistic to say that South Carolina would have any sort of chance at making the playoff?
Because I said the ceiling is 10 wins, I think it's definitely possible. A lot of things do have to go your way, I think. You really can't have those bad losses along the way. And that really leaves you with a margin. You can lose maybe 2 games max. I don't know. I just don't. I think they're – I don't know. Maybe they'll be in the hunt. But by year's end – and again, this is banking on the fact they're going to beat Clemson on the road. Who knows what can happen with that game? Rivalry out there. I think it's possible, but I'm not saying it's likely. I know Beamer put the expectations out there that they'll be looking at the playoff rankings this upcoming year, and they'll be right in the mix. I could see it, but it's tough. It's tough. I just don't – there are a lot of good teams, and if it were an expanded playoff, maybe different story, but it's a 12 team and you got to be really, really good. And I think by that point, South Carolina might already have a few losses.
There's always several teams in the mix because everyone has different opinions on what warrants a spot in the college football playoff.
Like it is usually about 10 wins now. It is because South Carolina 2 years ago didn't make it with a 9-3 record, and when everyone thought, oh, they're the hottest team in the country, they should be in the playoff. Well, again, you had losses to Bama and LSU. And if those games go any differently, you're in the playoff.
I can't with the LSU game. Like,
I know. We have not talked about that game in like a long time,
which is a long time for us because we talked about it almost every week for a while.
It was bad. How often?
It's so frustrating. Like, I don't want to put myself through it, but I might have to watch it back again just to try to understand like what the thought process was, because I just can't even wrap my head around it. But anyways, that's in the past, rear view, not looking in the windshield. So we need to focus forward. But yeah, I think, 10 wins would be, oh my gosh, that would be unreal. South Carolina wins 10 games and goes to the college football playoff. I will be there. I don't care where it is. I don't care when it is. I will be in attendance. No doubt.
Bloomington, Indiana?
Oh, if it was against the Hoosiers, my family would be there in full force, except for we'd probably be fighting on the street because my parents would be trying to beef with me about South Carolina. But no, not actually. We would get along very cordially, but there would be some trash talking. Bloomington would be sick. Bloomington is an unreal college town. Like one of the best I've ever been to. Probably the best. I love Columbia. Like Bloomington is the ideal college town.
Hopefully they go there then.
But it was 9 degrees when I toured. I'd been there so many times, but my parents were like, you need to go in the winter so you can really have an understanding of what your life is going to be like if you go here.
Yeah. And
it was fully 9 degrees. And I was like,
deuces.
It was nice to know you. I will always support you, Indiana, but I'm not doing this. I'm from Charlotte. I cannot do this.
Oh, man.
I'm just trying to again.
Yeah, it sounds like you're putting yourself through torture there.
I was here doing a Knights game when that game was happening. And I remember after it was over, I was stomping around and I had so many people, they were like, are you okay? And I was like, honestly, no. I'm not okay. Thank you for asking, but I am not okay at all right now. I will never, ever forget that day.
Yeah, that was a bad one. Before we wrap up the show here, real quick, got to talk to you guys about our other presenting sponsor, I should say, Ferry Chevrolet. If you're a Gamecock fan who's interested in a new or even a used vehicle, make sure you check out our friends over at Ferry Chevrolet in Orangeburg, South Carolina. They are led by a fourth-generation dealer in Joseph Ferry. The family-owned business over at Ferry Chevrolet has been serving the community for 100 years now, since 1926. It's conveniently located just off of I-26 between Columbia and Charleston. The folks over at Ferry Chevrolet are local, trustworthy, always transparent. Their business began in St. Matthews and was built on honesty, integrity, and a handshake, and they still operate with those same principles to this very day. Head on over to ferrychevrolet.com today to check out their inventory and to get in touch.
All right, everyone, drop your predictions down below. Let us know what you think South Carolina's record will be. We'll probably revisit this at some point in the summer once we have a little more clarity about the team. But yeah, thanks for joining us here on GC Live today. It's always fun to just talk and, make little predictions and just get excited about football season because it will be here before we know it. So Jack, thanks so much for all of your insight as always. Again, thank you to all of you for watching. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, everybody. A wonderful Wednesday, if you will. For Jack Veltri, I'm Kendall Smith. This has been GC Live here on Gamecock Central. We'll see you soon.